Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Westside Congregation in Rio Rancho. We are glad that you are joining us for our Thanksgiving service today. I am Kathy Wright, Service Associate. Our speaker today is the Reverend Dr. Nancy Hitt, our consulting minister. Our program is titled A Grateful Grinch. And yes, we do know that the Grinch usually appears at Christmas, but bear with us. This will be fun. You can see he's smiling. Our service is based on source number 4, Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves, and source number 5, humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. We hope you find new insights and applications of these sources in your own life through our program today. As always, when we gather together, we want to catch up on the news about what's happening in our congregation. Here are our announcements for today. Recently, Westside has been the object of some fishing expeditions, not for real fish, but fishing with a PH, the online internet kind, where scammers try to get a response from people, often asking for money or gift cards by pretending to be somebody you know. If you get an email from anyone at the church, but especially Reverend Nancy or a board member, asking for money or a gift card, or any kind of personal information, do not answer it. Delete it. You can report it as spam if you like to. If you look closely, you will probably discover that the email address it is sent from is similar to what Reverend Nancy might use, but different from what you've seen before. Do not assume she has a new email. Assume it's a scam. It's safer that way. Call her on the phone or email her using the address you already have for her. Do not respond to the suspicious one. Due to the increased terms of our COVID quarantine, we are no longer leaving painting supplies outside for our Painted Rock Peace River. Until it is safe to gather in small groups and the paint won't freeze, we ask that you paint your rocks at home and drop them off in the riverbed at your convenience. You can't miss the river. It's right outside our front door. If you are interested in building or providing a structure for our Westside Reads Little Free Library program, please contact Reverend Nancy. Due to the chaos of regrouping to totally online classes for the Rio Rancho public school system, they are not yet ready to coordinate the full program with us. We have decided to begin with the children's libraries on our church property, and we are also inviting anyone who lives in Rio Rancho and can legally place a library on their home property to do so. So if you want a little free library on your property for neighborhood children to use, and or you'd like to build or donate such a structure, contact Reverend Nancy. With all the chaos and confusion for kids in this school year, it will be a good thing to increase their reading resources. Lastly, a special event is happening this week. Thanksgiving will be different for all of us this year since our customary social gatherings are no longer safely possible. Instead of a potluck meal, we will be hosting an online open house on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, from 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We hope you'll use the Zoom link you will receive in your email to check in and chat. This is a purely social opportunity for us to literally see one another and catch up on a personal basis. If there are a lot of us, we can break out into smaller groups with no problem, so don't hesitate to show up. I invite you now to join me in lighting our chalice. If you have a personal chalice or candle at home, draw it closer to you as we speak the words on your screen together. May the flame of our chalice bring warmth and light into our hearts as we give thanks for our lives and all they hold. Shalom and amen. Now please join me in affirming our aspirations together. Life is a gift. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Shalom.
Let us come together in a moment for centering now. I invite you to sit back and relax wherever you are. Uncross your ankles, your knees, your wrists. Let your mind go blank. Focus your attention on your breathing. Breathing fully and deeply, in and out, taking in life-giving air, releasing tension and stress. Simply breathe fully, quieting your mind. And when you are still, let a memory of being thankful arise. An occasion when you knew you were blessed. It might be a big thing or a small one. Feel the connection you felt then with the source of that goodness in your life. Let yourself relax and revel in your affirmation. Claim the gift and offer your thanks. Recognize the importance of this experience in your life. Continuing to breathe fully and deeply, holding your joy lightly, yet close to your heart. Slowly begin to return your awareness to the here and now. Still breathing slowly and fully, turn your attention to your breath and then your surroundings. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Shalom and blessed be. It is our custom when we gather to share the things that mean the most to us with each other. Our joys are magnified, our concerns are supported and held in loving community. We will light a candle for each of them. If you have a personal candle at home, I will invite you to light it with me as our last candle is lit here. Today, we will also light a memory candle for Bob Schweik, Bram's brother-in-law, who died this past week. Bram says that anyone who met him loved him. He was a man who always tried to do the right thing. Years ago, he was a sailor. He loved animals, especially his many pets. He had a lot of turmoil in his life, but he accepted the bad with grace. His humor was constant. He could make you laugh anytime, anywhere. Bram and Roxy respected and loved him dearly. And so we light this candle in memory of all the light he brought into their lives and the lives of other family and friends and the pets who loved him too. Shalom. We also light a candle of concern for those who mourn Bob Schweik's death, including the members of the Rio Rancho United Methodist Church, where he was known and loved. We light a candle of joy for the donations made to Storehouse West for the holiday meal for people in need of food. With them, we rejoice that families don't have to choose a holiday this year. The storehouse has enough resources to provide both Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners for those in need. We also light a candle for the changing tide of our national politics. We rejoice that we can see our UU principles at work in our world. We light a candle of concern for those who will be alone this Thanksgiving Day, wherever it is not by choice. We hope that people reach out to one another and connect in warm and meaningful ways while still keeping each other safe from the COVID-19 virus. We light a candle of concern for Bram, who is unable to be here today due to poor health. We also light a candle for the special joy that Bonnie's new rescue dog, Rio II, brings to her. We hope that their adjustment period is short and productive, and that they settle into being a new configuration of family together with ease. Lastly, please join me in lighting your personal candle as we light our last white candle together for all that our hearts and minds still hold. Blessed be. We light our red candle for all the victims of racial violence. May we learn how to be more fully human in a beautifully colored world. May we cease to use race to oppress, to judge, to deny the full humanity of all people. We also light this special candle decorated in the colors of the transgender pride flag. On Friday, November 20th, we observed the 21st anniversary of the Transgender Day of Remembrance. This occasion seeks to highlight the loss of life due to anti-transgender bigotry and violence. This past calendar year recorded 430 deaths worldwide. This candle is in honor of all transgender people and in memory of all those who were murdered for being transgendered, both those recorded and those unknown. Shalom, and blessed be. Now, Bram, as you heard, is not able to be with us today. She's simply not feeling well, although she'll be fine long term. So I have the honor of giving you a really unique animal ministry moment. This story is not fiction. It is historical fact. In fact, it comes from the History Story website. So listen closely, because this has to do with the history of our nation and celebrating Thanksgiving in a way I am sure you had not envisioned before. The story goes like this. In late November 1926, a live animal sent by one Vinnie Joyce of Nitta, Yuma, Mississippi, arrived at the White House to be slaughtered and served up for that year's Thanksgiving dinner. President Calvin Coolidge, however, became smitten by the little beast and instead granted it a pardon. The lucky creature was no turkey, though, but a raccoon. While raccoon may seem an odd menu choice to grace the White House dinner table these days, the Washington Evening Star thought the strange part of the story was that the president didn't want to chow down on the woodland critter. Declaring raccoon meat less fatty than possum, the newspaper then invoked the culinary cliché that the ring-tailed animal tasted like, wait for it, chicken, albeit one crossed with a suckling pig. Never known as the adventurous type, the cautious Coolidge had never tasted raccoon meat, and he wasn't about to start experimenting with the gift from Mississippi. When asked if the raccoon was edible, the president smiled and said it might be for some people, but not for him. What the commander-in-chief did next with the intended Thanksgiving entree, however, may be the most bizarre part of the story, for the straight-laced Coolidge adopted the raccoon as a presidential pet, albeit at a time when far fewer of the furry creatures had contracted rabies. The news was hardly surprising to the American public in 1926, however, as the president and First Lady Grace Coolidge were known to be such lovers of animals that people sent them unsolicited pets on a regular basis. "We always had more dogs than we could take care of," Coolidge wrote in his autobiography as he reflected on his White House years. While the canines, cats, and canaries that were sent to the president may have been on the conventional side, Coolidge also received a black-haired bear from Mexico, an African pygmy hippopotamus from rubber magnate Harvey Firestone, and even a pair of live lion cubs, which the fiscally conservative president gave the less-than-fuzzy names Tax Reduction and Budget Bureau to. The raccoon was just the latest addition to a menagerie that the press called the Pennsylvania Avenue Zoo. But the Cleveland Plain Dealer reported that the masked animal, quotes, proved the most obstreperous of all the recent White House pets, unquote, as she ripped up clothing and clawed on the upholstery. The White House staff thought the raccoon was a regular Houdini, given her abilities to wriggle free from harnesses and break out of makeshift cages by gnawing away at the wooden bars, leading to wild chases through the president's home. Things began to calm down after the Coolidges built a wooden house for their new pet in the boughs of a tree on the White House's south lawn, outside the window of the president's office. For Christmas, the raccoon received a special Yuletide gift, the name Rebecca, along with a collar sporting a shiny plate engraved with the words, "Rebecca Raccoon of the White House." How Rebecca felt about the trendy $500 raccoon coat that the president and first lady gave to their elder son John that Christmas was never recorded. President Coolidge quickly grew attached to his new pet. Rebecca became the president's companion, walking around the White House grounds on a leash during the day, and at night she would crawl up into her master's lap in front of the fireplace. After moving into a DuPont Circle mansion in March of 1927, while the White House underwent renovation, the chief executive missed Rebecca so much that he brought her back with him in the presidential limousine to his temporary quarters. The next morning, however, the president emerged with his wrist bandaged, and Rebecca was banished to the National Zoo in Rock Creek Park. The press speculated that the raccoon might have bitten the hand that fed her, but Rebecca wasn't saying anything, and Silent Cal remained true to his moniker. Less than a week later, however, newspapers reported that Rebecca was back from the zoo and again in good standing in the White House. Rebecca was the star of the annual Easter egg roll in 1927, but she was hardly at ease around 30,000 shrieking children and the incessant clicking of swarming photographers. The Washington Evening Star reported that Rebecca, quotes, plainly evidenced her dislike for the whole doings, by clawing at the First Lady and the children before she returned to the solitude of the White House quarters for everyone's safety. That summer, Rebecca joined the Coolidge's 5 canaries and 2 white collies, Rob Roy and Prudence Prim, on the 1,800-mile railroad journey to South Dakota's Black Hills for the president's 3-month vacation. Like a spring breaker, Rebecca went wild, or tried at least, among the forested surroundings. She gave the Secret Service fits by breaking out of her cage, scaling the tallest pine tree behind the summer White House, and spending hours playing keep away from the agents who tried to coax her down. By early 1928, Rebecca had a new raccoon companion dubbed Reuben by the president. But the two got along about as well as Republicans and Democrats. Rebecca increasingly skipped out of the White House grounds to roam the capital city looking for adventure, and undoubtedly garbage cans to rummage through. After the periodic escapes became more of a pattern, the Coolidges finally donated her to the National Zoo. Don't expect any raccoons to follow Rebecca's lead into the White House anytime soon, however, as it is now illegal to keep a raccoon as a pet in the District of Columbia. Blessed be Rebecca.
Our moment with friends and family today is a collage of our community. We are thankful for each and every single person who participates in the life of our congregation. We hope you enjoy the Thanksgiving music and video collage of as many of us as we had access to in pictures. We are a blessed community.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am blessed.
Our moment for all ages this morning is the short story titled The Curse of Blessings. It was written by Mitchell Cheffetz. His story goes like this. There was an officer of the law, a recent graduate, proud as you can imagine, in his uniform of blue with brass buttons and gold epaulets. He wore a hat with a plume and a sword with a gold and ivory handle. He was as pompous as could be. He was arrogant and bold and callous. Every letter of the alphabet served only to demonstrate his authority and exalt his being. One day he was walking his beat and heard a commotion in an alley. He ventured into the darkness, and there in the distance he saw a man in rags. "Come forward," he commanded. "Come forward now." But the man in rags did not come forward. "I am an officer of the law, and I command you, come forward." The man in rags did not move. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other and spoke. "I don't know what I'm going to do with you." "Do with me?" the officer of the law mocked. "Do with me? You don't do with me. I do with you. I am an officer of the law, and I command you to come forward." "Now I know what to do with you," the man in rags said, and as he spoke, he drew his sword. "Now I know what to do." Without further word, he moved to attack. The officer of the law drew his own sword in defense. "Stop that," he ordered. "Put your sword down right now." But the man in rags did not stop. The officer of the law had to parry thrusts left and right. "Stop," he said again, but to no avail. The officer of the law was forced to retreat. When it seemed the man in rags would prevail, he lowered his guard, and what the officer of the law had intended as a parry became a thrust. His sword ran through the man in rags. "I didn't mean that," the officer of the law said. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Why didn't you stop when I ordered you to? Why did you attack me?" The man in rags waved the words away. "I am leaving you," he said, "and as I do, I put upon you the curse of blessings." "What do you mean?" asked the officer of the law, now quite confused. "The curse of blessings. Every day you must say a new blessing, one you have never said before. On the day you do not say a new blessing, on that day you will die." The man in rags closed his eyes. The officer of the law looked about for help. There was none to be found. When he turned back, the man in rags had disappeared. He was gone. "It was a dream," the officer of the law thought. "Only a dream. I imagined it." The time was late in the afternoon. The sun was setting. As much as the officer of the law tried to ignore his experience, he could not. The Jewish day ends with sunset. The officer of the law felt his body growing cold and knew from the chill that his life was leaving him. In a panic, he uttered these words of blessing. "You are blessed, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who has created such a beautiful sunset." At once, warmth and life flowed back into him. He realized with both shock and relief the curse had been for real. The next morning, he did not delay. He woke with words of blessing. "You are blessed that you allowed me to wake up this morning." His life felt secure the entire day. The next morning, he blessed his ability to rise from the bed. The following day, that he could tie his shoes. Day after day, he found new abilities that he could bless. That he could go to the bathroom, that he had teeth to brush, that each finger of his hand still worked, that he had toes on his feet and hair on his head. He blessed his clothes, every garment. He blessed his house, the roof and floor, his furniture, every table and chair. At last, he ran out of things to bless, so he began to bless relationships. He blessed his family and friends, fellow workers, and those who worked for him. He blessed the mailman and the clerks. He was surprised to find that they appreciated the blessings. His words had power. They drew family and friends closer to him. Word went out that the officer of the law was a source of blessing. Years passed, decades. The officer of the law had to go farther afield to find new sources of blessing. He blessed city councils and university buildings, scientists and their discoveries. As he traveled through the world, he became in awe of its balance and beauty and blessed that. The more he learned, the more he had to bless. His life was long, and he had the opportunity to learn in every field. He passed the age of 100. Most of his friends were long gone. His time was relegated to searching for the purpose in his life and the one source from which all blessings flow. He had long since realized that he was not the source, but only the conduit. And even that realization was welcomed with a blessing that sustained him for yet another day. As he approached the age of 120, he considered that his life was long enough. Even Moses had not lived longer. On his birthday, he made a conscious decision to utter no new blessing and allow his life to come to an end. Still, he could recite old blessings, and throughout the day he reviewed them. All the blessings for his body and his possessions, for relationships that spread throughout the world, for the awesome beauty and balance of creation, and for the deep resonance, the pulse of purpose that pervaded his very being. But no new blessing passed his lips. As the sun was setting, a chill progressed inward from his extremities. He did not resist it. In the twilight, a figure appeared, the man in rags. "You!" the officer of the law exclaimed. "I have thought about you every day for 100 years. I never meant to harm you. Please forgive me." "You don't understand," said the man in rags. "You don't know who I am, do you? I am the angel who was sent 100 years ago to harvest your soul. But when I looked into your eyes, so pompous and proud, there was nothing there to harvest. An empty uniform was all I saw. So I put upon you the curse of blessings, and now look at what you've become." The officer of the law grasped in an instant all that had happened and why. Overwhelmed, he said, "You are blessed, my God, ruler of the universe, that you have kept me alive and sustained me so I could attain this moment." "Now look what you've done," the man in rags said in frustration. "A new blessing." Life flowed back into the officer of the law, and he and the man in rags looked to each other, neither of them knowing quite what to do. Shalom.
This is our opportunity to say thank you to everyone who has contributed to Westside in this crazy pandemic year. We are alive and in pretty good shape because of your generosity and your loyalty. We know it is hard to feel meaningfully connected when we cannot meet in person. So we are grateful for your willingness to embrace new media, to learn new computer skills, and to open yourself to new experiences through our video format. Thank you for the wide variety of your gifts of love and commitment. You are doing a great job of keeping Westside alive and well. Thank you.
This Thanksgiving is different than other Thanksgiving. No one is able to gather with friends and family for a feast to commemorate the historical fiction of the founding of our nation. Not that the story most of us learned is completely fiction. The Pilgrims did hold a feast, and Native Americans did attend. The Pilgrims would not have survived the winter without the help of the Native Americans. The same cannot be said in reverse. The Pilgrims did not help the Native Americans survive. Ultimately, they and/or their descendants were responsible for the demise of Native American culture, which makes this holiday hard. If we look at history accurately, those of us who are not of Native American heritage rightly cringe. We wonder if we should really be celebrating Thanksgiving at all. I'm going to say yes, we should, with the strident qualification that we not rewrite history to do so. Let's not pretend that everyone at that first Thanksgiving meal lived happily ever after with everyone else. Instead, let's acknowledge that our history is troubled, awful even, and in need of redeeming. We cannot undo the past, but we can face it honestly, learn from it, and change our future behavior for the good based on it. Historically, we can give thanks for the compassion and generosity of this continent's native people. This 2020 Thanksgiving has already had its hallmark veneer ripped off. Norman Rockwell and the Saturday Evening Post notwithstanding, there will be no huge happy gatherings of friends and family celebrating together. The pandemic makes that impossible. In fact, this Thanksgiving, it's a lot easier to get in touch with the downside of the holiday than the happy, happy, joy, joy usually expected of us, which a lot of people have assured me is a lot more real anyway. After all, a mandated day to be thankful? How does that even make sense? It does, but we'll come back to that. Who says we should be thankful? For what? Why? To whom? Why does it even matter? And that huge family gathering? Just another occasion for a new episode of Family Feud. It's too much food. America is overweight anyway. It's too much work. Have you ever stuffed a turkey? The meal that took hours to make is inhaled in a few minutes. The cleanup is onerous, and no one wants to help. It can't be good for the environment to shortcut to paper and plastic to save on the dish detail. And most of those leftovers are destined for the garbage anyway. I mean, how much turkey can you eat? And Aunt Matilda's creamed celery? There's a reason that didn't get eaten. Telling everyone that mince pie is an old-fashioned taste treat just makes us all glad we're living now. And knowing that once upon a time it actually contained real meat does not make all those raisins taste any better now. And if you personally love mince pie, my apologies. You're unique. Very few people appreciate it. So here we are, with an awkward historical fiction and way too much work in the kitchen, with too much food and people who may or may not behave, and we're supposed to be grateful, appreciative, thankful, to count our blessings. Maybe now you're beginning to understand why the Grinch is here. We all know the Grinch from the story of how he stole Christmas. But did you know he makes a pretty good symbol for Thanksgiving too? As you can see, he's dressed for the occasion today. Of course, he's still green with envy, because he doesn't have what everyone else has. He doesn't have what he wants. It doesn't matter what that is. What matters is that he doesn't have it, and he resents that fact. In fact, he resents people who do have the things that he wants. Telling him to be thankful? A lost cause. For every good reason you might offer as to why he could be grateful, he can list a dozen reasons as to why he shouldn't bother. His list of things he doesn't have, but others do, is long. His social circle went flat years ago. Nobody calls him anymore. He has to call them. The house that keeps him sheltered from the storm, it leaks, needs a new roof, and the windows rattle. Oh, and the paint is faded and peeling. Well, you say, but the car he gets around in is really pretty spiffy. That must be nice to drive. Yeah, but it's not so nice to pay those insurance premiums. They bankrupt you. And it only takes high test at the gas pump. What about his job, you ask? It stopped being meaningful years ago. Now it's just a paycheck for doing time with a bunch of losers he doesn't even like. And speaking of paychecks, there's a hiring freeze, layoffs are coming, and no one is getting a raise. For every good or decent thing you could identify in the Grinch's life, he's got something else that cancels it out. And he keeps score. He's very good at math. Right now, there's a really short list of possibilities for things to be grateful for. And that list of pain-in-the-neck, worthless stuff in his life, that's growing leaps and bounds. This expression that you see on his face, it's permanent. He's a little crazed and disillusioned, and he's not buying into some proposal that we all get together and pretend that life is just coming up roses. He knows a bed of thorns when he sees one, and he wants no part of that. And in this year, with the pandemic raging and millions of people getting sick and hundreds of thousands dying, it's pretty hard to get happy. The Grinch figures he's a realist, but he does have a question. If everything is so awful, and many things really are, then why isn't everyone as miserable as he is? Why don't all of us resent each other all the time? What do other people know that he doesn't? He figures it must be something he's missing, or else they're all crazy, and that's highly unlikely. He's done the math, remember? And the numbers of apparently genuinely happy people suggest that there's a real reason for their thankfulness. It's puzzling because their lives are not perfect either. In fact, some are pretty far from it. So I'm going to start sharing some information with you that comes from science. It's hard to argue with scientific facts. They're sort of like math. The formula works or it doesn't. There is no in between. So first, let's define what it is we're talking about. To be thankful or grateful means to be aware of a benefit we have received. It also means that we recognize the source is outside ourselves. It doesn't matter exactly what we're grateful for. What matters is that we appreciate an identifiable benefit that came from something outside ourselves. While there are a few variations on that, this is our primary definition. We appreciate a benefit given to us. Now here's what science has to say about our physiologic responses to this situation. First of all, scientists, neuroscientists to be precise, have tested people using an MRI to map the regions of the brain that respond to this feeling. Here's a short list of the responses your brain has when you feel thankful. Your brain is flooded with endorphins. Being thankful feels good. Your hypothalamus works better. This means your body works better in regard to sleep, appetite, sex, and regulating your emotions. You are more resistant to stress. The neural networks associated with social bonding and the experience of pleasure are activated. We are less anxious and often less depressed. In people experiencing gratitude, there is a greater neural sensitivity in the medial prefrontal cortex, a brain area associated with learning and decision-making. Increased function here is a good thing. The data suggests that because gratitude relies on the brain networks associated with social bonding and stress relief, grateful feelings lead to health benefits over time. That's very intriguing. Being grateful can lead to long-term health benefits. Higher immune function, less pain. That's a pretty high return on an investment. Let's look at what the psychology has to say about gratitude. Generally, gratitude has been shown in multiple studies to generally make us feel good and increase positive moods, such as joy, interest, and alertness, as well as to improve self-esteem. Taking the time to be thankful and appreciative for things you have received, tangible or intangible, makes you feel more positive emotions, relish good experiences, improves your health, helps you deal with adversity, and builds strong relationships, all crucial traits in many areas of life. Numerous studies back up these claims. Grateful people are much more engaged with their environment, leading to greater personal growth and self-acceptance and stronger feelings of purpose, meaning, and specialness. And when it comes to sociology, the phenomenon of gratitude has a huge impact. Being thankful to sources outside of ourselves for things that are of benefit to us connects us to other people in a really good way. People demonstrate more pro-social attitudes and behavior when they're feeling thankful and when they experience being thanked by others. Studies on motivation in the workplace show that people are motivated to walk right out the door to find a new job when they feel underappreciated and experience little or no gratitude for their work. Conversely, their work performance increases when expressing thanks is part of the work environment. Okay, so neurology, psychology, and sociology all cite major benefits to experiencing gratitude from both the giving and receiving ends of it. In addition, it's worth noting that historically both religion and philosophy have extolled the benefits of thankfulness. It's something that we're a bit out of touch with in our consumerist world. We tend to focus more on getting more stuff rather than examining our feelings about what we have. It's as if being thankful has gone out of style. In fact, it's sometimes regarded as a weakness in today's world. Being grateful is perceived as handing over our personal power to someone else, as we acknowledge that we really appreciated, perhaps even really needed, whatever it was that they provided for us. It used to be that giving thanks was regarded as polite, sociable, and noble even. Thank you was one of the first words we taught our children. But in our self-made, individualistic culture, it is sometimes hard to afford being grateful. It flies in the face of our independence. It makes us feel weak. The Grinch could speak to that. His story is one of refusing to be grateful, instead being resentful and cruel. Well, criminal, actually, since he stole all the Christmas gifts and decorations in Whoville to prove that their joy, their gratitude for each other's presence in their lives was a sham. As we know, he was wrong. In the well-known story of how the Grinch stole Christmas, the people of Whoville get up on Christmas morning to houses stripped bare of decorations, gifts gone, refrigerators empty. All the things that they might have expected to be grateful for were gone, stolen by a thief in the night. But the story doesn't end there. The people of Whoville get together and they sing. You can't sing when you're angry and filled with resentment. Your throat tightens up too much. But a joyous sound reaches the Grinch's ears. How on earth can they do that? And this is very important. Science agrees with the people of Whoville. Gratitude doesn't require specific stuff or special circumstances. Gratitude can be learned. It can be practiced. It is a choice. If you have chosen to be grateful in your life, you can be, no matter what happens. And not because you don't care, but because you do. The more you care about your life and the people in it, the more gratitude you're apt to feel. The more you recognize how much you are loved. People in dire straits, people in prison and refugee camps, can and do express gratitude for good in their lives. In fact, those who are able to continue to be thankful are the ones with the best chances of survival. Gratitude literally saves lives. In the story, The Curse of Blessings, pronouncing a blessing describes the process of giving thanks. It literally builds the soul of the officer of the law. He was so full of himself that there was no room for any other connection at all, until the angel in rags cursed him with the curse of blessing. Only when his life depended on it did he start connecting with others, with the world around him. So much so that when the angel finally returns 100 years later, he's so connected, he continues to be grateful, even when he no longer wants or needs to. He's part of everything at that point, connected by blessing. That may be eternal life. You see, being grateful, giving thanks, bestowing a blessing, it connects us in love with other people, with the world around us. Not everything is good, and it would be a sham to pretend otherwise. But even microscopic grains of goodness can be a blessing, can be a point of connection between ourselves and life. The Grinch had a choice. He could continue to be his cold, resentful, mean self, or he could choose to be grateful, to give thanks, to be connected to other people and the world around him. He could do it once or twice to try it out. Maybe he'd ultimately choose to develop gratitude as a daily attitude, a daily practice. We have that same choice. We can choose to develop a keen sense of gratitude, or not. We can choose to share our appreciation with others, to give thanks directly to them for their beneficence in our lives, to accept their thanks for ours. We can use journaling or meditation or mindfulness practices to assist us in getting really good at gratitude, or not. While science shows that some people have greater ease developing the skills of recognizing and expressing their gratitude, it seems to be a basic inborn characteristic of being human. We're all capable of it if we want to be. And the more we do it, the better at it we become. Like the officer of the law, it becomes an automatic and natural expression for us. So here's where we go back to the points I made in the beginning, and I clarify why I said what I did. First, given the dubious historicity of what many of us have learned about the first Thanksgiving, should we even celebrate it? I said yes, and I still say yes. Not because the historical reality is even close to the fiction, but because we need to learn how to cultivate gratitude, how to let it change our perceptions and our overall attitude. We need to find the crumbs we can genuinely be grateful for and never let them go. Not because they cancel out the evil and the genocide of many nations, but because if we don't hold on to them, evil wins. We need the crumbs of good, wherever they are, to inspire us, to teach us, to remind us that no matter how awful we were, we can be better. And we need to practice that. We need to practice being better and being grateful for help from unexpected quarters, not envious of those resources. If we're going to learn to live in the world in peace, we need to cultivate gratitude, to accept the curse of blessings in our lives, to play the glad game and be called a Pollyanna, to stand on the side of love and not let evil win. And the last point I want to make is why I decided that the Grinch is the best representative of gratitude for us today. I pointed out initially that he is green. He is green with envy. Envy does not allow for thankfulness. But the Grinch experienced a scientifically documented phenomenon that changed him forever, turning his green with envy coat into a green of new life coat. Do you remember how the story ends? It tells us that, well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. I leave you with a scientific description of what happens to human beings when we experience gratitude. There is a warmth experienced throughout the body. There is a spaciousness through the chest, and especially in the area of the heart. There is often a sense of groundedness. There may also be uncontrollable tears and automatic smiling, all at the same time. If that isn't a scientific description of our hearts growing, I don't know what is. I hope your Thanksgiving is filled with joy and blessing this year. Even with the pandemic and the quarantine and isolation and hardship, let yourself be grateful. It just keeps getting better if you do. Shalom. I hope that you feel inspired to respond to what you have heard and experienced here today. You may leave comments and questions on our YouTube page or our website services page, or email me directly. Thank you. Please join me now in the words that appear on your screen as we extinguish our chalices together. Extinguished from our sight, our chalice flame still warms our hearts as they glow with gratitude for our community and our world. Blessed be. May you feel your heart grow within you as you recognize and affirm the goodness of your life. May you be both the source and the recipient of deep gratitude in all the circumstances of life. Shalom and blessed be.